I'm Anthony from Learning to Play the Guitar. In this video I'm going to show you how to play the song I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire, released by the Inkspots in 1941. Lately this old jazz tune has become very popular as it has been used in the game Fallout. So here I'll show you the chords, the strumming patterns, plus I've created a guitar solo which goes over the verse sections of this song. So in the intro of the song we have this little ascending riff starting with the F, C, D notes, little arpeggio pattern, F sharp, moving up chromatically, creating a diminished sort of chord there. Then we have a G related thing, number 3, and then we jump to a C7, which I'm going to just use these 3 fingers to play it because then the next chord is a C13. The whole thing would be that, but it can be a bit awkward sometimes to get that really clear. So what you can do to make it easier, you can use the fingers 1, 2 and 3 as I'm doing here, and the little finger on fret 5, which is the 13th A note. It's a little down up on that, or you can do the bar with the second finger doing the whole. So you got C. So one more time, here's the intro. First off for the verse here, let's talk about what the chords are. So we have an F bar chord, an F chord with an A in the bass, so I'm going to use the open A string, an A flat diminished, played this way, a G minor bar chord, and this very cool B flat minor bar chord at fret 6, which is sort of a wrong chord going to a right chord. And then we're going to go to C, and I'm going to play this as a bar chord here at fret 3 with the 555 third finger on the middle 4 strings. So for the rhythm here we're going to play in a style that's going to emphasize what's called the 2 feel, the 1 and the 3 of the bar with the bass notes. So for F I'm going to hit the bass note, which is number 1 there, and then I'm going to hit the chord down, and then when I go up I'm actually going to deliberately mute, so I'm going to take the pressure off. So I'm going to go down on the bass note, down strong on the chord, and when I come up I'm going to take the pressure off just to give it a bit of a muted sound. So with that sort of feel, you can keep the pressure on if you like, but I think that muted strum helps to emphasize the main beats of the bar. And so what's happening here, if we're sticking with the same chord in a bar, we're going to change the bass note. So in the very first bar we have an F chord for the whole bar, and so I'm going to basically hit the F bass note, down, up with the dead on the chord. Second bass note will be the 5th, which is the 3C on the A string, so same chord shape but I'm just plucking the A string instead, and then rest of the chord again. So we end up with this sort of sound. And that's the style I'm going to use throughout the entire song. So the next chord is F with the A in the bass, so now we're going to change the shape slightly to have the open A string, down on that A string, and up dead on that little half bar F there, which you can see in the tab. Next chord, A flat diminished, a passing chord to another chord, used a lot in these older style jazz sort of songs. We're going to play this chord. I am actually barring at fret 3, 4 strings down the bottom there. That's 4 and 4 in tab, my third finger, little finger, and the bass note is the A flat note here on fret 4 on the E string, and I'm actually muting the A string, so I'm not going to play it. So I'm going to go bass note again, down, up dead. And the magic of that up dead thing, that also allows you to change more easily, I believe, to the next chord as well, which now will be G minor. We have a bar and a half of this, so the bass note's going to go from the G bass note to the 5th, which is the D, back to the G with the rest of the bar chord in that same strumming pattern. So here we go, G, 5th, bass, so that's all the G minor, and then we have this half bar or 2 beats of the B flat minor, which is a very interesting chord in this song. Same fashion there, but at fret 6 is B flat minor. Now for C, I'm going to play the bar chord here because it will be easier to strum. So I'm going to play the bass note here, which is the C bass note, and then the 5th bass note hitting down in pitch or up physically towards the ceiling, which is the G there on the E string. So that will be happening for 2 bars. So all this stuff is really good picking accuracy, muting accuracy, even though it's not a very fast song. So after this, we go back to the main intro riff again. And now for the C7, I'm just going to play a 3-string arpeggio following the tab. And then you're back to the second verse. So the second verse has a slightly different ending. Here we have the 2 bars of C again, as we did before. We're now going to go F, B flat 7, I'm going to play it here, back to F. And this will take us to the bridge. So the strumming here, we've got a pattern from F, B flat 7 just beats 3 and 4, so 1 bass note, back to the F. With the roots and the 5ths again as we had at the start of the verse.
Lost all ambition for worldly acclaim. I just want to be the one you love. And with your admission that you feel the same, I'll have reached the goal I'm dreaming of. Believe me.
Now into the bridge. In the version I have here, I'm going to show you 2 different ways of playing these chords for the bridge. The first way I do it though is with these chord shapes. We have a C minor 7 in this position down to an F7, which is the same shape, 1 string higher, 2 frets across, which in some ways makes it easy. We're just jumping the same shape backwards and forwards twice. B flat, I'm going to go 1 and the 333, like we had for that C chord earlier on, but 2 frets lower equals B flat on fret 1. Then we go D minor 7, same idea as C minor 7 but at fret 5, G7 again same as F but fret 3, so 2 frets higher in pitch, so that happens twice again. And then we hang on this G7 chord for another bar, and then we've got C7 on the end, and again I'm going to use the bar chord, but I use it this way because then it's easy to get to. It's the same position shift from the G7, and this will take you back to the verse again. So let's do that with some rhythm and watching the bass notes move around. We have the C minor 7, F7, C minor, F7, B flat. Now there's 2 bars of this. The bass will be B flat, the 5th which is F, moving backwards and forwards. Now fret 5 for the D minor 7, backwards and forwards. Now G7, we have a whole bar of this, so I'm going to repeat that number 3 G bass note again. And the 5th there, which was the fret 5 D note for that chord. And then the C7, we have 1 bar of that going back to the verse. And then you're back to the F for another round of the verse again. So the solo I created will go over the 2 A sections or the 2 verses, so the F, A flat diminished, etc. changes. So here I'll run through the solo step by step, explaining where some of these notes come from as well as we go along. So the first chord obviously for the solo section, as in the beginning, is the F chord, and what's happening here, I'm using the F major arpeggio and some notes related to the F major scale to play this little pattern. And so we're doing this little thing. That's the 6th note of the scale, the D, and then the next chord is still F but A in the bass, and the next chord is the A flat diminished, and so the notes that fit that chord, we're adding in this B natural note here, which I'll play at fret 4. And that's just a little arpeggio using 3 notes out of that chord. So then when the chord next goes to G minor, I'm going to slide into fret 3 and play some notes based around the G Dorian mode. That little pattern, and then we have that cool B flat minor chord, which is sort of a weird passing chord. So to make that match this note is the minor third from that chord on fret 2, the D flat. And I'll do a little jump, even slide into that. I think I do a slide into that. Fret 6, F, which is the 5th of that chord. And then the next chord, because it's very brief, that B flat minor chord, is C. And so with C, we're going to play some C related stuff. It's going to be sort of C7 really, because we have a B flat in the mix here, because it's in the key of F major, which has the B flat in the scale. I'm going to call it C Mixolydian, which is the scale that fits, or the mode that fits C7. Here we go. So I've thrown some triplets in that second bar there to make it a little bit more rhythmically interesting, a little bit quicker and exciting. And that B flat is the flat note out of the F major scale to fit the key of the song. A little bit of a chromatic thing there too, going down. So a very jazzy way of playing notes chromatically, moving down 1 fret at a time. And this also will now lead to A, which is the 3rd of the F chord. So I've planned that to match the next chord. So now we're at fret 2A for the F major chord. And now we have this F sharp diminished. This is over that little riff. So it's just basically playing F sharp or G flat there at fret 7, but the rest of the notes are the same, going backwards. Now we have a G minor related thing, which is what happens with that riff. And so we're going to go B flat, little triplet there. So this is now G minor related, F, that's the 7th of G minor, E, which will then anticipate the C chord at the end here, or the C7 chord. And so that's all that stuff. So I will just play that first half of the solo now in its entirety. So the second half is the same sequence of chords except for the ending. So we're going to start off, there's a little E left over I suppose from the previous bar. Then we're going to go to the F chord stuff. So to play over the F chord, I've created a little rhythmic pattern here based around the F, and the C is my initial idea I had here, using the root and the 5th. So you can see I've basically stayed, the C is what they call a pedal tone, so I'm coming back to each time with an F, then a C, G, working up the scale, A. So cool little idea. You hear that in quite a lot of solos in other styles beyond just jazz as well. So then now we have an A flat diminished chord, of course. Now I'm going to play the arpeggio, but I'm going to start it on the B note because it was right next to the C note I just played. So it's that diminished arpeggio to match the chord. Then back to G minor now. So again, going into Dorian land, which is a G minor scale with an E natural in the middle to fit the key of this tune. And here I'm also using that rhythm from the beginning of this solo. Then again, that little triplet idea. I'm repeating ideas from before to create a theme. That thing again. Again, that little chromatic thing, I'm using that as well from before. So I'm creating themes. So now this note where I've stopped is the B flat. So the chord behind that is the B flat minor. A flat. That's a weird sounding note, but that is the 7th. If we made that chord a B flat minor 7, that will fit. And it's also chromatically going to lead down to G, which will go with the C chord, which is the next chord. So we've got this. Ooh, that's better. So it's like a wrong note going to a right note, which is a very cool little trick there. So now we're at C. Again, I'm going to reuse that rhythm, but again, just different notes. This is all C major stuff. At this stage, little triplet there. Again, I used triplets earlier on, little rhythmic devices, very much in this sort of style of music. Now I'm going to do some arpeggios here. So here the chord is C, but sort of inferred that it's C7 because C7 is the 5th chord of this key. And I'm actually going to play a C9 arpeggio, which is C, E, G, B flat, D, but I'm ignoring the C note. So I'm going to start on the E. Giving you that sound, very much a jazz sort of trick to ignore the root note and play an arpeggio from the 3rd. Then we're going to do this little classic 1-3-5 maneuver, which is used in a lot of jazz solos. John Coltrane liked to use this one some of his stuff. So that's from C. That's the 1, 3, 5 in C. The next one is the 1, 3, 5 in F when the F chord appears. And then the next one is also the 1, 3, 5 in B flat, but I've also made a little triplet thing here to make it rhythmically different. There, little hammer on. And then the final piece, we're going to F chord. I'm doing a little slide in. And I'm landing on the E flat there, giving it sort of a 7th, hinting at a 7th sound, leading into the idea of the C minor chord coming back in on the bridge. Subscribe to the Learning to Play the Guitar YouTube channel for more lessons. And don't forget to click on the bell to receive notifications when I upload a new video. You can also check out my books and more lessons at my website, learningtoplaytheguitar.net. Thanks for watching and keep practicing.